Welcome to Active Shooter, the podcast.
After decades now of mass shootings, we haven't found the answer.
A tribute to the victims of two mass shootings.
Thank you for listening to Active Shooter, the podcast.
You are listening to Active Shooter, a podcast that may contain adult themes, explicit language, and graphic depictions of violence. Portions of this show may be traumatic for those under 18. Listener discretion is advised.
9 people have been killed in a second mass shooting in less than 24 hours. This time, it happened in Dayton, Ohio, at an entertainment district in that city. Police say they have killed the gunman. At least 16 others have been hurt and taken to area hospital.
Most mass shootings are planned to some extent. Usually a shooter doesn't randomly pick up a firearm and open fire towards a group of people. Before the deadly Dayton, Ohio shooting, there was a 24-year-old man that could have possibly prevented the shooting from happening. When a friend of many years asked the man to buy him body armor, bullet magazines, and a receiver for the top of a rifle, he didn't hesitate. When the man asked his friend to keep the rifle, ammunition, and body armor at his apartment so his parents wouldn't find it, the friend agreed. If that friend would have confided in someone about what the man was doing, we may have not had another mass casualty event about 13 hours after the El Paso Walmart shooting. At 11:04 p.m., the shooter, his sister, and a mutual friend of theirs arrived at the historic Oregon district for a night out full of dancing and drinking. Surveillance video shows the trio entering Ned Pepper's bar at 12:14 a.m. The bar was packed with people, so much so that it was nearly impossible to even walk around inside the bar due to the amount of people inside. About 30 minutes after arriving at Ned Pepper's, the shooter decided to leave the bar alone. At 12:42 a.m., he was seen leaving the bar and headed towards his Toyota Corolla parked in a nearby parking lot. For about 8 minutes, the shooter was at his vehicle. Surveillance video shows him moving around his car, opening and closing doors, opening the trunk, then shutting it. The next surveillance image shows the shooter walking away from his car, looking very different. In the earlier footage, he was shown wearing a white t-shirt with a very distinct pattern on it, making it easier for investigators to find him in the crowds on the surveillance videos. Almost 2 hours after arriving to the downtown area, the shooter was now wearing a black hooded sweatshirt and what appeared to be the same pants he was wearing earlier, and he was carrying a backpack on his back. While watching the surveillance video, the viewer is able to tell that the backpack is weighted down with something. However, they can't tell exactly what the contents were. While the shooter was changing his clothes and gathering his backpack, he continued to send text messages back and forth with his sister, even talking on the phone at one point, discussing what their plans were for the rest of the night. The bar was just too busy, and the shooter's sister decided she and their friend were going to go to the nearby taco stand to get something to eat. As the shooter was making his way back to the Oregon district, he had stopped for about 8 minutes behind the Newcomb's bar and loaded his weapon. Investigators later found an unspent shell casing behind the bar. Dressed all in black, wearing a mask that was covering the bottom half of his face, tactical gear, and ear protection, the shooter made his way towards Ned Pepper's and almost immediately opened fire toward the taco stand. The following clip contains the sound of gunshots and may be triggering for some people. If you are not comfortable hearing this audio, please skip forward 15 seconds.
Dude, what the
The shooter killed 3 people near the taco stand, one of which was his own sister. He injured many more, including the friend that accompanied them to the bars earlier in the night. As the shooter continued pulling the trigger, bodies began to fall to the ground. Some people ran for their lives, some froze with fear, and others fled to the nearby restaurants and nightclubs for cover. In 32 seconds, the shooter had taken the lives of 9 people and injured 17 with the gunshot wounds. 10 additional people were injured while fleeing from the scene, which created a stampede of sorts, causing people to fall to the ground and be trampled by others that were running for their lives. As the shooter was running into the Ned Pepper's bar, which was filled with thousands of people scared for their lives, nearby officers engaged in gunfire with the shooter, killing him before he was able to enter the bar. Due to the massive party scene at the Oregon District, there was already heavy police presence in the area. 5 officers and a sergeant ran towards the shooter, not hesitating for even a second. There's no knowing how many lives the officers saved that night. If the shooter would have made it inside the packed bar, it is believed that many, many more lives would have been lost. Just after 1 a.m., a total of 9 people were killed, 5 males and 4 females. 6 of the deceased victims were African American and 3 were Caucasian. Their ages ranged from 22 years to 57 years old. In the 1830s in Ohio, the Oregon District was erected. 12-square block area known for its beautiful Victorian architecture and brick streets, and it was home to many restaurants, nightclubs, bars, and stores. According to the Oregon District's Facebook page, quote, "They are Dayton's oldest neighborhood, dating back to the 19th century. Its creative inhabitants are passionate and preserving the entrepreneurial spirit of their district. Nearly all the business in the Oregon District are locally owned and operated," end quote. The district holds different festivals and fundraising events all year long. One of the most well-known events that they host is a Derby Day celebration and the running of the Wieners race. This is a dachshund or wiener dog race where there are prizes to win and fun to be had. There was also a parade featuring dogs of all breeds dressed in different costumes. After the festivities were over, the district encouraged people to go to the local establishments and enjoy drinks and dinner while watching the Kentucky Derby horse race. Each and every one of the Dayton shooting victims had their own story to tell. Each of their stories was tragically cut short without a happy ending. Megan Betts was the shooter's 22-year-old sister. She worked as a tour guide for a local visitor center and was about to start her senior year at Wright State University. She was a part of the Department of Biological Sciences in Dayton, Ohio. To say that Megan was full of life would be an understatement. She lived life to the absolute fullest, and she was very positive and passionate about everything she did. Megan was one of the first people killed that fateful night by the taco stand. Lois Oglesby was a 27-year-old mother who had just recently given birth to her youngest child, and she also had an older child. Lois, or Nene, as she was commonly referred to by close friends and family, was going to nursing school and was working at a daycare to earn a living while raising her children. She wanted to go out and have a night out on the town, something she rarely got to do because of her busy lifestyle. The shooter would shoot Lois in the head, killing her, but not before she FaceTimed her children's father, telling him that she was just shot in the head and she needed to go get her kids. The children's father would comment that Lois was letting him know that she loved him and to take care of the kids. Lois died from a gunshot wound to the head.
She said, "Well, Mommy, I can have fun too." And I said, "Yeah, you can have fun sometimes too, Day." She said, "I hadn't been out, so I'm going to go out. I'm going to have some drinks." I said, "Okay, be careful." And that was it. We were asleep, and her boyfriend called, and he said, "Mom, Nate, Lois FaceTimed him. She said she was grazed by a bullet." And she said, "Babe, come and get me." He said, "No, you need to go to the hospital." She said, "No, I need to get to my kids." And then that was it. My daughter was beautiful, inside and out. and the love that she showed for kids, the compassion that she had for children. It was just amazing.
Nicholas Coomer lived his entire 25 years of life helping other people, especially those that were sick with cancer. He was a Pennsylvania University graduate student in the Master of Cancer Care program. He was an intern at the Maple Tree Cancer Alliance in Dayton, Ohio. He and 2 other employees at the Cancer Alliance decided to go out and have a good time before starting their work week the following Monday morning. Nicholas lost his life due to multiple gunshot wounds. His 2 coworkers were also struck with bullets, but they are both expected to make a full recovery.
Always someone who would do anything for anybody. Got to work next to him every day.
When I got the news, I just fell to my knees because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was absolutely my best friend. We spent a lot of time together. He was one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life.
Earlier in the week, Logan Turner of Springboro, Ohio, achieved a milestone in life, celebrating his 30th birthday. He had gotten a group of friends together that weekend to celebrate another trip around the sun. While out celebrating, Logan too lost his life due to multiple gunshot wounds.
Just knew immediately, like, this is the one, this is who I want, like, just the sweetest, kindest, like, human I've ever known. Like, said every single day, like, I'm so thankful for you and I appreciate you and, like, I love you, and just, you know, like we loved each other hard.
Logan had a degree from Sinclair Community College and then earned an engineering degree from the University of Toledo. And for a short time, he also was enrolled at Wright State University. He worked as a machinist at Thaler Machine Company in Springboro, Ohio. T.J. McNichols' father, Thomas McNichols, says that his son's death still doesn't seem real. He wants to know why. Why would somebody take the life of his 25-year-old son? TJ was described as being a gentle giant and a great father to his 4 children. He had just gotten off work and decided to meet up with a couple of friends before his life was taken. He later died from multiple gunshot wounds.
I love son. I loved him. He was me. My son was me. I have 5 girls and 1 son, and only 1 son, and I loved him to death.
Dion Green would never have imagined that he would be holding his father, Derek Fudge, in his arms when he took his last breath. But that is exactly what happened on that tragic night. Dion and Derek were standing outside a busy bar waiting for Dion's sister to come out of the bar, when all of a sudden they heard shots and both men hit the ground. After the shots had stopped, Dion rose to his feet and looked over to see his dad still laying on the ground. He held his dad in his arms, telling him he loved him, as his father took his last breaths. He died from gunshot wounds to his torso. Derek enjoyed spending his free time fishing and had an especially close relationship with his dog, Lucy Lou.
He's a great guy. Like, if you need anything done and he can do it, he's gonna get it done. Shirt off his back. Even if he gotta walk miles to get to you, he's gonna get there. You know, he's gonna look out. Like, and I think I picked up I picked my traits up from him because I'm the same way. I do anything for somebody, even if they do me wrong.
Monica Brickhouse from Springfield, Ohio, was a 39-year-old woman who decided to meet up with her good friend Nicole to have a couple drinks and catch up on what was going on in each other's lives. She was married to her husband, Anthony, and was a very devoted mother of 3 children. She died that night from multiple gunshot wounds.
This was just a very positive person. You know, you always knew when you sat with her, you had an easygoing spirit, somebody who was going to help you, advise you in the right way. Whenever she walked through the call center, you never heard her coming. She just slid her feet. She never would step. She just slid everywhere.